Welcome to my apartment in Madison. So you probably have seen, if you haven't seen, they're on the YouTube video or on the YouTube channel, videos of me kind of harvesting my 2 deer for the year. I thought, what a better way to preserve some of the meat than to make some jerky. We have almost 100 pounds of meat. We should probably do something with it outside of just burger and steaks. So I'm doing 2 different types of jerky today. I went out and bought a dehydrator. I've already done 1 thing of jerky. This is what the batch looks like. We're gonna do it at a little bit bigger of a scale this time. So what we have going on, I have a bunch of ground venison in here, and then I have a couple pieces of steak over here, both venison. And I am going to do our curing process real quick. So what I need to do is I need to pull all this out and zero my scale because it turned off, which is not ideal. Okay, first thing we need is 10 teaspoons of coconut aminos. Sarah really loves this brand, less sodium, I guess. So we put 10 into the bowl with everything in it. And then we need 1 tablespoon of maple syrup per pound of ground venison. So I have my maple syrup here. I have my tablespoon, and we are gonna put like 5 3/4 tablespoons in. And if you guys are looking for bulk maple syrup to purchase, if you're trying to do a bunch of smoking or do a bunch of jerky making, I always use the Kirkland stuff. It's pretty darn good. It's relatively cheap, and I use that for smoking all of my fish and doing all of my jerky that I make. You really can't beat maple glazed stuff. So the next thing you need is teaspoons. So the only thing I have is a half a teaspoon right now. I don't know where the rest of my stuff is. So I need 2 teaspoons of garlic powder per pound of venison. So we use bulk garlic powder a lot of times. I also grabbed a bunch of extra little ones out of the store from yesterday. So in this goes. Now that we have our garlic powder in, we need our onion powder, which is basically the exact same thing except it's onions and not garlic. If you need cheap ones, Target has Good and Gather. It's always a really good place. And back to the half teaspoon that we should have a full one of. With the garlic powder in, the onion powder in, the maple syrup, the coconut aminos, all scaled up to how many pounds of venison we have. Couple more things. So it's 2 teaspoons of liquid smoke. We found the last one at Cabela's, which looks like this, and it says liquid smoke on it. So 2 teaspoons per pound of liquid smoke, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of our cure mix. I'll show you what the cure looks like in a little bit, but we're gonna get this liquid smoke in there. I will say this is my favorite part. It smells phenomenal. Liquid smoke is in, and now we need our cure. I use Cabela's old-fashioned stuff. Again, I've only done this a couple of times, so if you have better cure recommendations, let me know. But looks like this. It's the old-fashioned brand, or old-fashioned mix. Has a little bit of maple cure and brine mix. And you are going to use 1/4 teaspoon per pound. So that is going to be not that much for us. Show you guys what that looks like here. So this is our 1/4 teaspoon, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and some change. And then the final piece, I rinsed out my 1/4 teaspoon because I don't have a full teaspoon around, is smoked sea salt. Sarah got this from Hawaii when she was on a work trip. Any smoked sea salt will work. Call out here is if you are using soy sauce, you need less of this. So we need 1 teaspoon per pound. So that's 1. That's basically the entire recipe. So that's all the stuff that you need to combine into a bowl. I'm gonna get it off my scale here. That's all the stuff you need to put into the bowl to get your jerky going. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna mix this up by hand, and you really wanna handle it well. You want the smoke to get all over, you want the cure to get everywhere, so I'm going to mix the absolute heck out of this and show you guys what that looks like. You'll know it's done when I can grab into the meat and it all looks the exact same color and there's no discoloration on any of it. It should look brown, right? We got all those coconut aminos in there. We got all that liquid smoke in there. It should look brown all the way through, and that's how you know it's done. So that is the prep process here. Now onto the fun part. So I just took a quick break and ripped off 8 sheets of parchment paper that are a little bit smaller than my dehydrator trays. I have a 12 tray dehydrator from Cabela's. The trays look like this, so there's 12 of them that all slide in. And you're gonna do the first 2 hours with the jerky on the tray, on the parchment paper, and then after 2 hours, you're gonna pull them off, and then you're gonna put your jerky, flip it over, and put it directly back on the dehydrator tray. You might be asking, how do I get a good piece of jerky out of all of that ground stuff that you just mashed up? That is an excellent question, and I am going to show you right now. So, first thing we need is our jerky tube. I have the Cabela's Jerky Shotgun Jerky Blaster. It's the bigger version of the jerky pistol. So we want that. We also want our single tip, and it looks like that. The one that it normally comes with looks like this, with that bevel in the middle. This single tip is going to take longer, but it's actually going to work way better than the double tip. So, you put your tip on here, it's already been washed, jerky tube has been washed, and now as you can see, it's empty. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna pack the meat out of this bowl into this jerky tube extremely tight. It's basically like a big caulk gun is what it comes down to. So you're going to take your meat with freshly washed hands and you are going to make it into a little roll and you're going to pack it into here. And as you pack it into here, you take your ramrod and you stuff it down in there. And then you keep repeating that process. And you can hear it's trying to push the air out as it goes down, which is great. That's what we want it to do. And sometimes it's easier if you loosen this portion up here, it makes it less of an airtight seal. And it can go down a little bit easier. So you loosen that bottom portion and it lets the air come out down there as well. And you'll know you have all the air out when you start pushing down, it starts to push a piece of jerky out. Now that we have our jerky in our tube, we're gonna clean up the edges here. And then we're going to take the back part of our gun. It's basically like a big caulk gun, like I was saying. And we are going to plonk it on here. We're going to get it nice and tight. And then you want your handle to line up with the jerky gun so that the spout is straight. Come down to your parchment on your sheet here. And just start squeezing the handle. If you get to the edge and you notice that you have some pieces that kind of broke off, that's going to happen. Just reset it. And that's your first piece of jerky. You're going to go back up to the top. You're going to do the exact same thing. There's going to be some areas that are a little bit higher. There's going to be some areas that are a little bit lower. I'm not an expert at this jerky gun by any stretch of the imagination. So just kind of pull it through and do your best on it. It's never going to be perfect. And then that is tray 1 of our jerky done. just like that, and I have a bunch more trays to go. So I am going to do all of these trays the exact same way. It's a little bit wet, it's not ideal, but that's okay. And we are going to do all the parchment paper just like this. Okay, we've got it all loaded up in the dehydrator. The dehydrator's warming up. We have it set at 160, and we're gonna run it for the first 2 hours with the parchment. All in all, I threw some extra steak strips in there that I had, and it's going to be roughly about 9 trays worth of meat. So 9 out of 12, not too shabby. Okay, and then after your first 2 hours in the dehydrator are done, it's gonna look like this. It's still gonna feel a little wet. That's totally fine. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take each individual piece off of the parchment paper, flip it over, and then lay it back down directly on the dehydrator rack. Okay, we have all the jerky flipped over, and it's going back in the dehydrator for another 2 hours minimum. Okay, and after letting it go in the dehydrator for another 2 hours, that is the finished product. You can look at the cross section. We're gonna put it in these bags, and then we are all done.